son of a bitch!
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Datsun build on HobbyFix. I'm Adam, and today we're going to be doing a walk around of the Z now that I've actually had it on the road running and driving. So I'm going to show you just a few clips here, just some B-roll footage, just giving you a tour around the car, and then we'll talk a little bit more in detail about different aspects of what we got going on. So here we go with the heart of the build. We did get it to fit in, and the way we had to do it was cut down all the high points on the manifold. I haven't shaved it off completely yet, but enough that we can close the hood. So if you take a look at the hood, the center section here has been raised up very slowly, little spot weld at a time. About a centimeter all around, and then knocked up a little higher. So this is kind of what I'll be working on next, is getting this smoothed out and finished off. On the inside of the engine bay here, we have a 4-inch intake that I made. What it's made out of is sewer pipe with some cloth and fiberglass resin around the bends. I made them the same way I did my exhaust, so I wedged them out about 30 degrees per wedge, and then melted them together with a soldering iron. Slipped a sleeve over top of them, and then put some fiberglass resin on top. So that's worked out pretty well, and what it does is runs to the front of the rad support here, which had to be opened up a bit to get the pipe through, down to the mass airflow sensor and a cone filter just in front here. It's a little hard to see. And just underneath the inspection tray on that side of the car, we have 3 relays here, two circuit breakers, and what they do, relay number 1 is the lights, the headlights, and relay number 2 and 3 each run into a 40 amp circuit breaker and to the electric rad fans down here in front. So these are off a Ford Escort, probably mid 2000s. They've worked perfectly fine so far. On the side we just have a drinking water bottle that runs to the overflow here. So for the cooling system we have 2 hard pipes, 1.5 inches, I believe, maybe 1.25 inches conduit, and this one here runs off the top of the radiator, which is a Datsun radiator, down into the top of the water pump here. Lower one's the same idea, out the side and down into the bottom of the radiator. We're going to take a look now at the belt drive system, and what we have here is a custom pulley I made in order to mount the alternator just below it to the block. So this is just another piece of conduit, the same stuff I used on the hard pipes, mounted to a flat piece of plate that comes out, and this is the original pulley. It runs the belt down to the alternator here, which there's 2 bolts that mount the alternator. First one's down here. This one runs right into the block. There is, just into the cast iron block. Second one, you're going to know with these blocks here, there is a flat section just below the cylinder head that's drilled and tapped. So the top one has a flat piece of angle iron that comes out, has a nut on it. It's all drilled and aligned so that it is the right distance for the belt to work. Down below there is a spacer that's probably 2.5 inches long, and I'll try and get you a better picture of that to show you how it connects to the block. So here's a close-up of the radiator. Just behind it you see a spacer, and that runs to the block to keep the alternator the correct distance away for the belt drive to work. So while we're in the engine bay, we can take a minute here to look at the fuel system. This is a returnless, so this is just a single feed fuel rail, and it's coming up from the fuel tank with a soft piece of EFI tube, and it's just clamped down on the stock fuel rail. So in a minute here we'll take a look at the back end of the car and show you the origins of this fuel line. So now we're just underneath the car here. On the right is the fuel pump, which gets a supply from the bottom of the fuel cell. It sends it into the fuel pump here. These are Corvette fuel filters, which have a built-in regulator. I believe it's probably the bottom tube comes in from the fuel pump, and it will send the excess pressure back through the return line into the tank. It has a single out which pumps up and all the way to the front of the car. Really simple. Looking at the back of the car here, we have my second of two mufflers. This is just a glass pack resonator, 3-inch, that takes gas from the first muffler and sticks it out down here at the bottom. I wanted to have something that was a little less attention grabbing. It's still not a quiet ride, but it's not loud enough that the police are going to be pulling it over. And underneath here we have the first Flowmaster muffler, which is getting fed from an exhaust system that I have some pictures of. I'll probably put those pictures in now. You guys can take a look and see how my exhaust is laid out. We're at the back of the car here. I thought I'd go over my wheels and brakes a little bit for you. Rear tires here are 17 by 9 with a 255/40/17 tire on them. They are BMW style 32 rims that have a custom 2-part adapter to go from the 4 to 5 volt. And there's also been a rear disc conversion on this car. Maxima, I believe, the calipers up front. We have a 17 by 8 with a 225/45/17, which is the same height as the rear tire. I had to go with a bigger tire to get some more oil pan clearance, just to give myself some security that I'm not going to smash it when I'm out driving. And we have the same 2-piece adapters here. And we have upgraded, if I can get it to show you here, to 4-pot calipers, so 4 pistons. Overall, the brakes are pretty nice on this car. They're fed from a 240SX BrakeMaster cylinder. So inside the car here, we have a switch panel that has headlights, instruments, turn on the gauges here, wipers, nothing right now, and currently a horn. I'm going to move that to a button that goes in here. We have a quick disconnect steering wheel. Mostly just for knee clearance. Down below we have the drive-by-wire setup. So this is the LSX assembly attached to where the Datsun one would normally be. It has a control unit that's behind the little control panel here. The computer for this car is all mounted behind this panel. I got a custom bracket I made that holds it up in the dash. And then the wires are still a bit of a mess, but it's coming together down there. Got the stereo hooked up. We have a check engine light, another light that I haven't assigned to anything yet, and then just a scan tool that can show me water temperature, because I don't have a gauge for that yet, or speed, that kind of stuff. So the Camaro T5 that I used does not have a vehicle speed sensor output. So what I ended up doing was boring out the center of a gear, and I'll take you over to the lathe and show you a little bit about how the vehicle speed sensor works. Okay, so for those of you who are doing an LSX swap, you're going to have to know that the vehicle speed sensor is a parameter the computer needs to run right, and what they have is a 40-tooth pickup on the output shaft of the transmission. So the way I got this to work is I took a gear from a camshaft drive on an old Datsun motor. I can't find the other half of it. I could have shown you what it looks like, but It's got teeth similar to a bicycle gear. This one's kind of just a thread cutting gear on my lathe, but it'll give you the same idea. I didn't use one of these. I had planned to, because I thought the teeth were a little too close together and they might not make a big enough spike for the computer to understand what's going on. So I have one that's a 25 tooth gear that spins. Yeah, what am I thinking here? Anyway, so pretty much picture like a drive gear on a bicycle, just like the cassette that changes speeds. It's kind of a gear that looks like one of those, but a lot thicker. What I did is I bored out the center to 1.5 inches, and the 1.5 inches will slide onto the input shaft or the output shaft of the yoke on your drive shaft. So you slide it on between like the U-joint area and the tail shaft of your transmission. Usually you have a little bit of a gap there. I epoxied it with JB Weld in place, and then I made a bracket for an ABS sensor. These are just ones I got off various cars in the junkyard. I took a couple and the first one worked. They are a magnet or a coil that reacts to ferrous metal, so when the teeth get close to it, it generates a little magnetic pulse. So you have to get a really tiny air gap with these and mount it so it was near the toothed wheel that was mounted on my drive shaft yoke. So maybe I can get a picture of that, but the idea is kind of just like this. That was held in place there. Imagine this sliding onto the yoke of your drive shaft and being stuck in place, so when you're driving, it's spinning. It goes close to this tooth, the teeth get close to the pickup here and generates the pulse that the computer needs to know that the vehicle's moving. And so far I've had no issues with it. The 25 tooth ring I have on there can read 1 mile an hour. So I just got to change the settings in the computer to correct it and get it outputting the correct speed. And then that can run to a speedometer and we'll be off to the races. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions at all about any part of this build, if you want to know how I made anything work, or you want to get a little more detail or see some shots of something, let me know. I'll be happy to get them for you. Next video we do is probably going to be a little cruise in this car. I have had it out and done maybe 3 hours of driving in it. Can get to about 80-90 kilometers an hour, but the drive shaft has to get balanced on Monday. It gets a bit of a vibration, so I don't want to go any faster and risk damaging something. It's really torquey. It's a lot of fun. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good day.